Good afternoon, everybody, and hello. Thank you very much for joining us. We are very honoured today to welcome Mr. Chrysantos with ourselves. Thank you for joining us, Chrysantos. How are you, sir?
Hello, TC Free. All good. It's busy times right now, but
Yep.
overall I can't complain. I think I'm in a lucky position to be able to work from home and still being able to do what I love to do. So all good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. As you know, we've had Mr. Conway on. We've also had Vasri, by the way. We're also talking to Mr. Vasri. So obviously, we've got some questions, dead easy, one take. Anything that can go wrong and does go wrong will be included as well, including me moving my camera around, which is probably going to happen because I keep looking at it and I'm not happy.
It makes it authentic. That's amazing.
Absolutely. So we'll kick off with the first and most obvious one. Obviously, we all know you as Chrysantos. How long have you had that name? What other and do you have any other in-game names that you hide under?
Oh, the thing is that Chrysanthus is my main nickname by now.
Yep.
Like when I was younger, I didn't really play too many online games. I usually just stuck to anything like Chris-ish because my name is Christian. So I always try to find something that's related to Chris. And when I started playing EVE Online, I needed to think about like a proper nickname that would represent myself. And I wanted to have something that sounds like Chris. And I don't know why I picked Chrysanthos. And that just stuck with me. And when I started playing World of Warships, I just took the first name, which was Chrysanthus, and that was my name since then. But a fun fact about this is that during my time in EVE Online, I played that game for like 4 years.
Wow.
I never really had anybody approach me about my nickname. But as
Wow.
soon as I started playing World of Warships, suddenly people messaged me in Greek. And I only recognized this because they said Kalispera.
Yep.
And I was like, in the beginning, I didn't really react and just said hi. Thought, it's all just Greek players being very friendly, but they usually targeted me with that. And then started speaking Greek, and I couldn't really answer. And I just asked, like, hey, so where is this coming from? Why are people talking to me in Greek? And then they told me, it's like, because it's a Greek name, Chrysanthus. It's coming from, I think, in English, it's the chrysanthemum,
Yep.
the flower, and it means in Greek it means golden flower. And that's how I realized, oh, that's where my name is coming from. My mom is doing a lot of gardening, so I guess it's coming from that, subconsciously picking that
Yeah.
name. But it was really, really ridiculous. Like I couldn't figure it out for the first 3 or 4 months, to be honest.
So Chrysanthos, the golden flower. I,
Yes, yes.
I, I can see that growing forward. I can see pictures coming up soon with that.
Memes, yeah, very meme worthy.
So, how long have you been playing World of Warships? How long have you been involved with it? I mean, I've known you've been involved for it a long time, really, from what I can remember. How so? Tell us about that.
Well, I started playing, well, by now, looking at the date, pretty much 5 years ago. I think it
Wow.
was in April 2015. Basically, as soon as you were able to buy yourself into the CBT, I did that with the Yubari package.
Yep.
As I said, I was playing EVE Online at the time before, and one of the streamers that I was watching was streaming EVE Online, but also the closed beta of World of Warships. And he was
Yep.
playing the Benikaze, and it looked super fun. Completely different game. I never played World of Tanks or any game like that. And for
Wow.
me, it was just like, you know what? This looks fun. I would like to play it. It's supposed to be free to play. So where is it? Where can I play? It's like, oh, it's in closed beta. You're not allowed to play it right now unless you have like an invitation from Wargaming. It's like, okay. And then I started playing. So I've been part of World of Warships since the closed beta.
Wow.
And
That's
that's a long time by now, just to realize it. It's been 5 years, and it's a long time. I think I haven't played any other game for that long.
wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to, and then obviously that's transferred into where you are now. So, what is your favourite ship though in World of Warships?
That's a question I get a lot, and I always struggle with the answer.
Yep.
I have pretty much all of the ships. I think the only ship I'm missing is the Midway. I think because I'm not the biggest CV player myself, but I have any other ship. And my favorite ship is still the first tier 10 that I unlocked, which was the Montana.
Wow.
And from that day on, it has a special place in my heart. And I know some people think she needs a buff, but I think that ship is just as good as it was on day one. It has more competition because obviously more tier 10 battleships are out there,
Yep.
but overall it's still my favorite ship. And because I'm actually more of a cruiser main, so I have to say, you know, my other love is the Hindenburg. But it really depends on the time when I've been playing World of Warships. Like as I said, you know, 5 years. When the Atago, for example, came out, that was probably my favorite ship, or the Mormons, my first ever premium ship that I played. So it really it changes over time, but my all-time classic would be Monty and Hindi.
Nice. I can agree with you there. I mean, I was pretty. I got enclosed alpha in the game, so I was quite lucky there. And for me, I really wanted the Des Moines because everyone was like, "Oh, it's amazing!" And part of the draw for me on the Des Moines was I've got a lot of games in World of Tanks, 70,000 games. Okay, so I was addicted. I was slightly addicted to the game. Probably still am as well because I had a look and I got quite scared.
Are you still playing World of Tanks?
Yeah, I'm still playing. I play both. I play all 3 of the World of games that are available. Shockingly,
you're one of the few players.
I am one of the few people who plays World of Warplanes. Yes, I have the DO 335 even.
Wow, it's like for me, it's like in my career in wargaming, initially I was working within the, let's say, overall community team, and we were taking care of all titles. That includes World of Warplanes.
Yep.
It was always interesting to see. It's like it's not the biggest audience we have for our games, but it's a super loyal, hardcore audience, and you know they just love to play World of Warplanes all day. It was always interesting to interact with because it's a very specific audience that is still playing World of Warplanes.
Yeah, it's my quiet game. Brutal honesty. I got into World of Warplanes, played it. The problem was I've been spoiled. I'm afraid I'm going to swear by the other.
It's fine to say.
I'm afraid I got spoiled by War Thunder's flight model. That spoiled me because I wanted it to feel like that. I shouldn't have done, but I did because it was so fluid to play. When they updated
what I get from a lot of people who played both World of Warplanes and War Thunder, that what they're looking for was more the thing they could find in War Thunder than in Warplanes.
Yeah, and to give it its due, it does feel a hell of a lot better now. And my personal favourite now is the fact that it's got the B-32 in it, which I think it's hilarious. Because I don't know I haven't seen many other B-32s in the game that I've taken it out. And it does seem to attract too much attention, but it's quite hilarious. Oh well, you know, you've got 6 turrets dotted all around the plane with that automatically go, oh look, target, and so it is a hilariously amount of fun. There's nothing like just going. You know, there's all the people are there in little fighters trying to cap an area, and you just cruise along through the middle with turrets going left, right, and centre, and below and everywhere. And yeah, I find that a lot of fun. I'm probably one of the few people.
Sounds like you have a lot of fun, yes.
But yeah, no, that's me quietly away in the background. Stay away, everybody. It's my game. But no, yeah, I do enjoy it. But no, for me, going back to the Des Moines, I don't know why in my head it linked to World of Tanks, but it was because of all the auto loaders in World of Tanks. You know, the Batchat, the TVP, you know, that kind of stuff, the AMXs, and it had the words auto loading 8-inch guns, and it was like, happy place.
Basically, had the name TC Freer on it.
Yep, had the name on it, and then I started playing it, and I put my hands up. I tried to play it like an auto-loading tank for some stupid reason. Needless to say, I failed miserably. I have learned though, over 5, nearly 6 years of playing, I have learned the hard way how not to Des Moines. So
how not to Des Moines? Yeah. Yes. Des Moines is like a crazy beast, but you have to know how to play it. Actually, in the office we have the Sailing Robin.
Yes.
He's now working for World of Warships Legends. And he is the best Des Moines player I know out there. It's just crazy to watch him play that ship. I mean, I consider myself a decent player, but when I see what he can do with the Des Moines, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I've been in games with the Sailing Robin where he's been in his Des Moines. It is beautiful. So you mentioned EVE Online. What other games outside of World of Warships do you enjoy?
Of a variety. I would say in general, I'm more into complex games than casual games. So I'm attracted to games like, EVE Online, the living spreadsheet out there.
Yes.
It's still one of the best games I've ever played. But it takes too much time. It's like with the job and everything, you can't play it.
Yeah.
I actually tried to get back into it, like with Mr. Conway. He dragged me back into it like years ago, and we said, no, that's not going to work out. And aside of that, I'm a big RTS fan. Unfortunately, that whole genre is kind of dead. I hope it comes back, gets back into fashion.
Yeah.
But I used to play like Supreme Commander, Command and Conquer, Zero Hour, especially General Zero Hour was one of my favorite games.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, have you seen what's coming back very soon? Have you seen what's due to be launched in? I think it's June or July.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to this, but then again, don't trust this until it's out and it doesn't suck.
Yeah, I'm well and truly with you there. I am. I am praying to the gods of Westwood that they haven't messed up that game.
Yeah,
I realized West
disappointed too many times.
Yes,
I remember the times when they were saying like, "Oh, we're working on a new Command and Conquer. It's supposed to be in the style of Generals." And then they killed it in alpha, and then it was just the entire franchise was dead.
Yeah. The heartbreak. I'm gonna reminisce it back to the Three Lions song for English football fans. So many years of pain, so many years of hurt. We still keep believing. Side note, by the way, have you still got all the original games for Command and Conquer?
I have the collection. Yes.
Yeah.
I have the collection.
Yeah.
I bought it actually for playing with friends because every once or twice per year because I'm from Germany and I still have a lot of friends back there.
Yeah.
And we try once per year, twice per year to meet up and actually play our old games we were playing with LANs. And part of that is actually Command and Conquer Zero Hour, and we actually wanted to play it also online, and that's when we bought the full package of all of the games, and just try to see what actually works online and what doesn't work online.
Well, by the by, but anyway, OpenRA. I think you've probably heard of that, haven't you?
No, actually, I didn't.
OpenRA is the original Command and Conquer Red Alert, but it's the open source version that was basically somebody took the original Red Alert game and all the code and everything for that, because obviously that was back in the days when 400 meg for a game was big. Now it's just it's nothing. That's, if you Google that, there's actually a version that actually works online and allows you to do the online multiplayer with all your friends of Red Alert, as well as June 2000 as well.
Let me write that down. Always good to check it out.
Oh yeah, and it's totally faithful to Red Alert, the original Red Alert, not Red Alert 2, but just the original Command and Conquer Red Alert. So there you go. That's something for everybody as well.
Nice. Yeah. And outside of that, outside of RTS, I love 4X games. I'm a huge Stellaris fan.
Wow.
I've played, I think, over 1,000 hours. Well, at least that's what Steam claims. I think it's less because, you can pause the game and you just do something else. But I think it's at least 600-700 hours that I sunk into that game, and it's amazing. I love it. Same thing is true for Civilization-style games. I do like to play, just one more round. I think Mr. Conway actually, he looked it up a few weeks ago. We were actually dragged into this by our boss, Lord of Droid, because he started. We're we have to play it because we haven't really played it in a while. Then we started playing online, but he didn't have time. So Conway and me just continued, and I think we spent 50 hours in 2 weeks or something playing Civilization, which was not very healthy. But we're in lockdown mode. I have time. I live alone, so it was okay. Yeah. And besides that, RPGs, like The Witcher, the first Dragon Age, not the second one. Still mad about the second one. These kind of games. So it depends a bit on the mood, but overall, the kind of games I play.
Awesome. I've got, like I said with Mr. Conway as well, I still yet to install my copy of Stellaris to give it a try, but
you have to.
Everyone keeps telling me this.
It's a two-edged sword because you kind of have to, but
Yeah.
it will cut into all of the rest of your gaming time. So because it's not very easy to get into, but once you get sucked into it, because it has so much variety in terms of, like, most games feel different.
Yeah.
Like most matches actually feel different, and you have like the funniest storylines in there and events that happen. So for me, it's like after playing all this time, I think I saw like 90% of the content by now. But it took me a while to see all of that content, because you can just end up in a different part of the galaxy, and interact with different content. And it's quite cool.
Awesome. Yeah. One thing that's drawing me, one thing that's making me have to install it is the fact it's got such an awesome Star Trek mod on it. One of the
Mr. Conway is trying to, because I'm a vanilla guy for most games.
Yep.
And with Stellaris, like my way of thinking was always, look, I'm happy to play mods, but first of all, I want to see most of the actual game before I start modding it.
Yeah.
And with Stellaris, they just keep adding content every few months. And whenever I'm feeling like, oh, okay, I'm ready to play a mod, it's like, oh, look, there's a completely new DLC with content. It's like, okay, let's play that first and then move to it. But like they have crazy, like the Star Trek mod is supposed to be really good. The Stargate one is also supposed to be quite good.
Which Stargate? I'm kind of praying for Atlantis now, I'm afraid, because I'm a big Stargate Atlantis fan. SG-1's good, but for me, Stargate Atlantis was just like, wow.
It was also sad when they cancelled that show.
5 series was not enough. It needed... There's more in there. I mean, do they ever go back to the Pegasus Galaxy? Come on. That's the big question. That's the thing that no one has ever answered. Did they ever go back to the Pegasus Galaxy with Atlantis? It's like...
it's like I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, so I've watched all of it, and I would actually like to see a proper game made with the Stargate content.
Yeah. Well, they kind of hinted that they'd done something with I have to swear a bit because it's Stargate Universe, which it was okay. It wasn't the best, I don't think. But that's how they picked Eli to join the join Robert Carlyle's character as everybody in going and getting on board the Destiny, wasn't it? Because they basically put all the questions and mathematical queries and everything into an online game that you had to complete to actually for them, and then they actually came and appeared to pick up Eli. So it kind of one thing that's always there for me is they've kind of made that game, haven't they? Or haven't they? I mean, they showed him playing it. So does it exist or doesn't it? And if it does, please
give it to me.
Yeah. No, but that's pretty cool. I like it. So we're normally going about content, but obviously we've yourself and Mr. Conway, the twins, as the community has nicknamed you both.
Actually, it's actually not the community.
It's not the community, is it? Oh.
I mean, it popped up from the community as well, but the actual reason why we're called the twins is because of our colleagues in St. Petersburg, especially Seb Octavian. Because whenever we were in calls or people, interacted with us, and since Conway and me are doing so much together, and we don't look alike, but we look similar, and especially in calls and so on, and especially during the time when I didn't have a beard.
Yes.
So during that time, they just said like, "Oh no, these two guys must be twins," and we're joking about the cloning facilities that we have in Europe, and it became a thing. At this point, I think we just fully embraced it and we just roll with it. And we do spend a lot of time together at work and outside of work, so I can't blame people.
True. So when we talk about the content, obviously we get to see you guys doing both the German and the English community streams. Everything, all the work you guys put in there. So what I would like to ask, if it's okay, is what does your role entail at Wargaming? What do you besides what we all see you doing and all the comment, all the communication that comes out from yourselves as well? What else do you do?
That's a very, very complex question. So for me, like my title is community producer for Europe, for the warships.
Yep.
Which entails that. So first and foremost, I'm responsible for the community management in Europe. That means I'm leading a team of regional community managers, and I'm just making sure that all of the relevant information is being passed on from developers, that all of the feedback is first of all getting collected from all the important places. Then I basically build a digest that I present to developers. And everything that basically is in between the development part and what arrives at the player's part is my responsibility.
Wow.
And on top of that, I run certain projects. For example, the whole Twitch project is mine. I came up with the idea to have the global channel, and I'm very happy that it grew to something that is really worth having, because for me it was always very important as a company to be able to have that level of interaction with players where you can just have a face-to-face. You can answer questions even on a weekly basis. You can explain why we're doing things, even if you as a player might not necessarily agree with all of the things that we do. At least we have a chance to present our reasoning behind it and make you at least maybe understand why we're doing it, and also have like a face of the company that you can talk to. It's not like wargaming, company that is building World of Warships, but it's actual people that you're talking to. And that's one of my biggest projects that I've been working on the past 2 years, but also things like the global Discord server that we launched in March. And then depending on what's up, in my job, it can be very dynamic. Depending on what's happening. So usually we do a lot of offline events, like Gamescom, player gatherings. Most of the organization by now is on Mr. Conway. I'm more on the planning side, also with budgets and so on. And now it's shifting again, because right now with COVID, there's no offline event ever for the next few months. And I hope this is getting better soon, but it really depends. And then I get to also do the fun stuff like when we go to the CC Summit, we're usually taking care of our European CCs and making sure that everybody's arriving and not getting lost and these kind of aspects. So it's a lot of things, different things that happen all day, and that's what I love about my job, because it's not boring. It's always something different.
Taking care of taxes.
I was, on the one hand, I found it hilarious what happened there. On the other hand, I really felt bad for my counterpart from Asia, who had to deal with the mess. Because for me, like, I had the trouble with one of our CCs who missed his plane to go to St. Petersburg. So I had to actually deal with this. I was on the way to St. Petersburg with my boss. We were literally in the gangway, to the plane, boarding the plane, and I was on the phone talking to our support team back in Paris to book another flight for our CC on that day to get to St. Petersburg. It was from Bern over Moscow to St. Petersburg. It was a mess. So, like, the challenges is you sometimes have to face. You can be really crazy, and you wouldn't expect them. And also things happening like Euro losing his passport was one of the most hilarious things that I ever had. Because fun fact, when that happened, like all of this, it was surreal. Him losing it in the morning. In the evening, we were having beer, and he was sitting there with me and Mr. Conway. We were having beers, and he was drinking, like in Germany, we call it a Maß, which is like a full liter of beer. We're like, hey, and he's like, he only has to get his cab later today to get to Moscow, to the embassy, to get his passport. And then he manages to step into the wrong cab. It was surreal. It was like, that story was surreal, and I really felt bad for we had an operations manager who was taking care of that whole situation, organizing the cab and giving him all of the information, and he goes to a different one. It's like nightmares at work.
Oh man!
And it all worked out. So at the end of the day, it's a funny story. Nothing went wrong, but in that moment, you're like, oh no, what happened?
Yeah. I've not yet been to a CC summit myself, but everything I've seen, everyone I've talked to, everything, all the comments and everything about it, they are really, really awesome. So one day, but for now, I'm happy with everything we're doing. And especially, I have to say, being able to just talk directly to you guys, it's such a phenomenal, ability. There's, where else can we just ask a question and, within 20, 30 minutes in some cases at most, if it's something completely bonkers, there's an answer from you guys. And we have to say a massive thank you to you all for that. Just for being so helpful to us all here as well. That's so thank you very much for
That's
that from us.
much appreciated, and I'm also very proud of that. Being part of the team that we had CC program for years, but being able to turn it into something global and being able to have the ability to also get people to St. Petersburg, because I used to be a player, I used to be a streamer myself, and it's like one of your dreams to be able to go to that building where that game is being built and being able to talk to the people inside of there, and just seeing the magic behind the scenes, what's going on, is a really amazing experience. And also being able to be part of that, and for me, it's like I made my way into the gaming industry and now I'm part of it, but sharing that with other people is really cool.
That's definitely the next level. That's awesome. So we'll go on. Next one that we've got for you is, what's your quote? What kind of quote would Chris Hansos has on in like a school yearbook, or just in general? If you got, what's your quote?
Oh God, that's a really tricky one, because I'm not really a quote person.
No.
But if I would have to pick one, what you would catch me saying quite often would be something like, "Common sense is not very common anymore."
You're not wrong there.
Especially these days, when you take a look at what's happening around the world, it's crazy.
Common sense isn't common anymore. That's a good one. That's very apt for the current time and brain. That's very good. That. And favorite band and song. What sort of music do you just like to put on, chill out to, relax? Is there any that's a go-to you have to have on?
It really depends on the mood, I would say. It really depends on the mood. Like if I need to chill, I'm usually more into like chill EDM music, like I don't know, like the XX, for example, is one of my favorite bands that I can just relax to.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm mostly into rock. Like I used to be a lot into like new metal, alternative rock, like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit, and so on. And otherwise, I'm just a fan of like classic rock and metal, like Metallica.
Nice.
Or like I'm a fan of The Boss. I unfortunately didn't get to see him live, but I still managed to do that at some point. But yeah, like these kind of bands. When it comes to the funny thing is, these are kind of like the music that I'm listening to the most, and kind of my favorite bands. But when it comes to like favorite songs, it's something entirely different. It's usually songs from bands I would not listen to most of the time, but there's like one song that really resonates with me. I don't know, for example, like Caribou with Odessa or Gold Panda with You. These are songs that most people don't know, and I only stumbled over them through games or friends or whatever. But they are like on my special playlist for when I'm in a specific mood.
Yeah,
it's for me. It's kind of magical and very different, and it has to. Like there's songs that you just listen to, and there are songs that I know it sounds weird, but they kind of touch you.
Yeah.
And these songs are the more special ones for me. I can give actually a good example for that. Do you know the song "All Along the Watchtower"?
All Along the Watchtower.
So that's a song that was actually written by Bob Dylan, then covered by Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know this song is not because of those two, but because of Bear McCreary. He was writing the soundtrack for Battlestar Galactica. And I love that show. It's one of my favorite TV shows out there. And they actually put that song, not just there as a soundtrack, but they integrated it into the storyline.
Wow.
And that song was amazing. I listened to that song and I just put it on repeat for a very long time. And then I was trying to figure it out, like, where's this song coming from? And then I discovered the Jimi Hendrix version, which is amazing. One of the best rock songs out there. It's quite psychedelic, but a really, really decent song that gets the mood of the text along. And then I also discovered Bob Dylan's original version, which is also like a cool song. I usually hate covers, but each of these different versions trigger me in a different way, but all of them are cool.
I didn't know it was Jim. I didn't know it was a Dylan song. When you mentioned Jimi Hendrix and Along the Watchtower, I knew I can hear it now in my head. Which one you're on about now? That's a very cool song. The one that does the same for me. Have you ever heard of Nathaniel Ratcliffe?
It doesn't ring a bell.
He had a song called SOB. Obviously, we know what SOB stands for, but it's kind of like blues, country, modern, kind of indie rocky. it's very, very weird to hear. The best way that someone described it to me was it's bail jumper music. It's the best way he described it. If anybody's ever seen the very first Under Siege movie, and you've got Tommy Lee Jones's character with his band, and he's there playing away playing away before they take over the mall. It's that kind of music. That's the only way I can really describe it without it. But it's just got one of those things at once, and it's a real earworm as well. Once it's in your head, once you hear it, there's parts of it that you just keep singing, and you can't stop, and you don't know why. And someone will say something like 6 or 7 months later, and it'll start, and it's like, no, stop, and then the only way to stop it is listen to the song, and then move on. But yeah, no, I get what you mean though with that with Over the Watchtower. That is a really nice one to go with. Right, Mr. Chrysanthos' joke.
My joke. Okay. Are you ready?
We're ready.
So, 2 fish
Okay.
are in a tank. One turns to the other and says, "I don't know how to drive this thing." I love that one. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's definitely safe for work.
definitely safe for work, and there's also something very potent, very personal for me with that one. Because my little niece has started talking. We had a family voice video conference this morning, as we do, just to keep in touch as you do. That's my little niece's joke of the day as well. that's actually pretty. I like it. I like it purely. I like it pretty much just because it's quite personal for me and family, that joke. So thank you. I like it.
My pleasure.
So we normally ask now, where can people find your content at? But everybody knows where to find Chrysanthos. He's on the World of Warships Twitch channel. You're on the World of Warships forum. You're on the World of Warships Discord. So there's pretty much that. You also have a Twitter account, but that's just for yourself, isn't it?
Well, it's
Bit of both.
I mean, it's my Twitter account is both professional and personal. I don't really use it to do anything with it. Like, I post every once in a while. You will mostly find me either post stuff about World of Warships or things that I watch.
Yep.
Like recommendations for movies or shows, or me ranting about things they put into a show that I dislike. That's most of my Twitter content. Outside of that, I do have a Twitch channel myself, but I haven't streamed in a long time. It's like I used to be actually a World of Warships CC before I joined Wargaming, and for the first year I was still streaming on the side, but especially with the official channel becoming a big thing, I don't really have the time anymore to create any content by myself, and I rather focus on making sure that the official content that is created is good. And then in my free time, I like to do other things.
I mean, the official content is definitely good on the channel. I lurk in there a lot and watch, and I occasionally say hello and things like that. I know. I like to. I do come in and say hello. There's a lot going on.
Appreciated, by the way. Like, for me, this is one of the coolest things to see, that when we stream, we not only have members of like the forums and Discord and wherever they're coming from in the chat, but also see that other streamers are participating in it as a kind of community event, being there just talking about the game, which is really cool in my opinion.
No, it is. I mean, it's I think I'm not 100% on it, but you guys were the first to actually really integrate with the community as such by doing the streams online like that. There's kind of other people were kind of doing like the videos online, and look at this announcement from this event online and stuff like that. But I think the Wargaming doing the actual Twitch streaming in such a direct and engaging way as yourselves are doing, I think it was one of the first that really caught a lot of people's eyes. It did, at least for me. I mean, I wasn't aware of anybody else doing it in the same way that
In the
you
same way,
guys
I
were.
don't think so. I mean, there's so many gaming companies out there. I'm sure that somebody else was doing something similar in that sense. But what we're definitely doing differently is that we try to just have a chat and answer as much as we can in the most honest way that we can.
Yeah.
Which sometimes might backfire, but that's a price I'm willing to pay to be able to come across as the way we are, authentic, and that we take concerns seriously.
Yeah.
You might not always like the answer that we're giving you, but it's the answer that is our answer, that is the reasoning behind the stuff that we're doing. And but to also like be able to have that place every week. I mean, initially it was very easy to do this when we had like a few hundred viewers, because the amount of questions was manageable. By now we're in a position where we have like a few thousand people each stream, and it really becomes tricky to still address most of the things. And then you have somebody asking a question at the very beginning of the stream, and it will just repeat itself with people coming in later and having the same question, and finding a balance there is always tricky. But I think overall, like, I'm very happy with the content we're producing at this point. Quality could always be better, and you can always be more creative, but I think overall it's well accepted as a format, and also the kind of things we do.
Yeah, definitely. I can. I will definitely agree with you there, because it's nice and it's refreshing that virtually every week or so it's there. It's clockwork. People can go in and people, you can see them. You can see how people are actually feeling about the game and the questions that people have got and comments that people are coming up with, and it gives yourself a lot of feedback as well about how the player base is actually responding.
It's a different way of communicating. If you take a look at how you mostly communicate about feedback, it's in a written form of something like a forum.
Yeah.
Maybe like some companies go for more social media, some companies go for Discord. It really depends on what your audience looks like. But for me, there's nothing that beats a stream.
No, definitely.
First of all, I see the questions, and like if I put something on the forums, a few hundred people might see it. But that's within the forums, and that's very contained. If I put it on a live stream, first of all, I can answer that question. I know that thousands of people will see it. They might even clip it and share it. But then it also gives the opportunity to ask a follow-up question. I can immediately put it into context.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people will take, a statement out of context because they want to use it out of context, to make it look different than what you actually wanted to get across. But overall, I always have the chance to say, hey, okay, this is the answer. And if suddenly I see, people are misunderstanding it, I can provide a bigger context and put it into a perspective.
Yeah.
Which is very different, and I think more interesting. If you have a question, you can get it answered by somebody who's looking into the camera and is telling you, hey, look, this is the way we're doing it. This is the reason why. It's much better than trying to find an answer on the forums or somewhere in Discord or under a social media post. And being able to have that every week, even if if your question wasn't answered this week, you have another chance next week. Or we might, take up, because we see a lot of questions about one specific topic, we might put up the answer for that into a devblog post or into a forum post, or put it into the next publication, because we see, hey, there are a lot of questions about this specific aspect, so let's make sure that in our next communication about this topic, we'll make sure that it's included.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Which is, it's from from my perspective, not as a CC, not as anything else, but as a player, that's great, because otherwise, you ask a question and you've got anywhere between 2 to 3, maybe even a week's delay to find an answer sometimes, because it's got to go through, it's got to be answered. Whereas, you guys, like you said, someone asks a question, you can give an answer. If there's a follow-up question, you can add the context and provide that understanding and that knowledge. And I think that's one of the great benefits of what's going on and how this is being done. So I really do thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you for the kind words.
No problem.
And for those who are listening, like if you have any feedback for our streams, we're always very happy to take it on board, because I know that some things can get lost in the thousands of messages that are there.
Yep.
But we're always very happy to take it on board wherever we can. So please share it. It's important to us. I know that sometimes it can look like that, oh, I've told them this and nothing is happening with it immediately.
Yeah.
But some things take time, because it's, like game development is not something that happens from, today to tomorrow, but usually there's a longer period of time for like feedback to be compiled, and then developers take a look at it, then you need to find a solution, then it needs to be integrated into the game and tested, and by the time it actually gets pushed out, it takes a few weeks or months.
Yeah.
Good example for that is actually talking about the streams that we had. We're using Twitch drops.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I do with Mr. Conway. We actually built the Twitch drops, and we got quite some feedback by now that, like, initially it was never a problem, because most of the players who were joining our streams were predominantly PvP players. So we actually designed the missions for that specific audience. Like, hey, these guys, they want to get a challenge. They want to have something that is different from the usual in-game missions. So we try to challenge them a bit and build some like things that give them the rarer camouflages and so on, like what collectors would be looking for. But by now we get some feedback that, hey, I want to play co-op and I don't have any option to do all of these things in co-op. So we got that especially with 0.9.3, 0.9.2, when we had our Twitch events with, for example, the 100k mission that had no option for co-op. And we implemented this for the coming up, not for 0.9.4 that much, but for 0.9.5, because we work in advance. Obviously, we don't do this like a week before the update, but 2-3 months in advance.
Yeah.
And you will be able to do more of the Twitch drops, if not all of the Twitch drops, also in co-op. But it always takes time for us to see, okay, is it really meaningful feedback? That is it not just one person that has that problem, but is it a bigger share of players who have that problem? And how can we tackle it? And then we'll do our best to actually implement it.
Well, that's awesome, and that's there you go. That's a little bit of snippet of insight for everybody as well. So thank you very much. So I've taken up enough of your time now. Thank you very, very much for joining me on this, Chris. This has been a very eye-opening one for me as well. So thank you very, very much for sharing everything with us. Guys, remember, you can catch Chris Santos on the official World of Warships Twitch streams, the English, and do you do the German language one as well occasionally?
Yes, I mean, right now I'm actually doing all of the German streams because I have a decent internet connection at home, and I'm basically doing streams from Chris Santos' living room. Just because I didn't want to drop the German ones. We usually do them as a trio with Sehales. He's the German community manager, and with Mr. Conway, because he speaks German. He's native German, half British. But we like to do this as a team of 3 because that's the format that worked out the best. We have a lot of fun on these streams, so very happy to do them.
Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you so much, Chris Santos, for taking time out to join us. Guys, if you haven't already, remember to check out the other videos in the series, as well as making sure you're following the official World of Warships channel as well to catch up with all the information as that comes out. Thank you very much, Chris Santos. Thank you, everybody. And we'll catch you all on the next time we do one. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great time and stay safe.